Have you ever believed yourself to have wandered into that most fabled, mysterious part of the Old South, known as the Bayou, just beyond the edges of New Orleans? So perhaps you have. And perhaps, in the spirit of adventure, you might have strayed away from the bustle of its French colonial streets, away from the charming, the everyday, the world of logic and knowingness, and accidentally stumbled after a spell upon a set of high-wrought iron gates, protecting, hiding, one of the bayou's deepest mysteries. If you have, then you know the place of which I speak, for beyond these gates and up a winding path stands a lone antebellum mansion, graceful, well-maintained, and lovely, despite one unmistakable fact. No one has lived in it for over 150 years. That large, graceful house is known far and wide as Gracie Manor, and since you are a visitor to these parts, allow me to explain that it is a long and storied history. The mansion has inspired many myths and legends, some bounded in truth, and some no more than modern fantasy. Conventional wisdom of the house's origin and the intentions of its various occupants have been somewhat fluid over the passing years, but one thing remains certain: the mansion is most assuredly haunted. How and why it came to be haunted, and by whom, is how most of the tales differ. And one of the oldest tales, the tale that begins even before the existence of the house itself, has now largely been forgotten, save for one curious, incongruous artifact. In fact, if you stand at the base of this manor and shade your eyes from the blinding sun piercing the bayou, as you look to the highest, most reaches of the glorious mansion, you might see this mystifying artifact. There, perched atop the turret of the old house, sits a weather vane in the form of a ship. It was sometime after the War of 1812, in that glorious age when New Orleans was truly the Paris of the West, that a mysterious sea captain appeared in the city. Whence he had come, none could tell, but one thing was clear: he had wealth. Even in the city of 100,000 people, the richest city in America at the time, the sea captain had enough wealth to stand out among his peers. Though he was a mysterious and quiet man, this notice did not displease him. In fact, he went out of his way to ingratiate himself into the upper strata of New Orleans society. He began to make appearances at the functions of the most noteworthy families in the city. Just as the sea captain started to make his forays into polite society, rumors began to swirl. No one seemed to know exactly where he, and more importantly, his money, had come from. There were some that hinted that his wealth may have come from sources less than honest. There were some even, once the sea captain was hours gone, for they feared to say so anywhere near his imposing presence, that intimated that he had been nothing less than a bloodthirsty pirate, a compatriot of John Lafayette himself. But as much as they wondered, no one ever dared to ask the captain about his lineage directly. The sea captain was an arresting figure, and never more so than when he engaged someone in conversation, which is not to say that he was intimidating, for this is not entirely correct. It was more of a seductive, menacing charm, an effect that was never more pronounced than the evening when the captain introduced himself to one of the most noteworthy noblemen of New Orleans. He was head of an old mercantile family, the sort of man that would never have spoken with a sea captain of any sort, were it not for the introduction by one of his peers, who insisted he must meet this extraordinary man. So it was that the nobleman found himself speaking to the captain, and within minutes accepting an invitation to dine with him at the city's finest restaurant. Later, away from the presence of the mysterious man, the nobleman had second thoughts and decided to cancel the engagement, only to find that he had no way of contacting the sea captain to send his regrets. As a gentleman, he had no choice but to keep his appointment the following night. Over a dinner of the finest delicacies the city had to offer, the nobleman was swayed again by the charming captain, so much so that he forgot all about his early intentions to extricate himself from the acquaintance, and even so far as to arrange for the captain to come and call upon the nobleman's house the following day. And so it was that the captain came to lay eyes on the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, the nobleman's daughter. The nobleman's only daughter was a mysterious creature herself, praised in public because of her unparalleled beauty, and gossiped about in private because of her complexion. For she did not have the lily-white skin of the rest of her family, and there were rumors that she was in fact of mixed race, perhaps, it was whispered, the illegitimate child of one of her father's many servants. These rumors, however, did nothing to prevent the most eligible bachelors from seeking her hand in marriage. The captain never spoke a word to her during his visit to the nobleman's house, only once, just catching a glimpse of her while having cigars and brandy with the nobleman in the drawing room. The nobleman had, of course, hoped to keep her safely ensconced in the upstairs room while the dark stranger was about, but his daughter had a will of her own, and so she crept to the door of the drawing room and briefly locked eyes with the mysterious man of the sea. From that moment on, they were both deeply in love. It was to the nobleman's surprise and dismay that the captain sent word the following day that he would like to court his daughter. His reservations were tempered, however, by the wondrous gift of gold and jewels that accompanied the request, an offering of good faith from the captain to the nobleman. And so, in spite of the fact that he had already offered the hand of his daughter to the son of another New Orleans society family, the nobleman agreed. My lady, thank you for gracing me with your presence. It is an honor to finally speak with you, even with such an attentive audience. Were all these chaperones truly necessary just for me? Me? Intriguing? I fear that is merely a polite term for the subject of much gossip. Understandable all the same. I can tell that your father cares about you a great deal. Though, I confess, I yearn for a moment to speak freely with you, without the watchful eyes of, the entire bayou, it seems. My extravagant gift to your father? It was a token of my good faith, my lady, and a symbol of my determination. I do not do things by halves. When I set my sights on something, I pursue it with passion. I wanted to secure this meeting between you and I, and it only seemed fair to me to pay the correct amount for even a moment with you. How I acquired my fortune. Ah, yes, the rumors. I imagine they paint me as a villain of scarlet red. A ruthless pirate, perhaps. My lady, I will not deny that my past is complex. There may be some truth to some of the things you have heard, but I assure you, I am not the monster that the gossip paints me to be. I have never harmed an innocent soul, nor spilt innocent blood, if that is your concern. I understand. Reputation is a fickle mistress, but I would have you know me for who I am, not for who gossips claim me to be. This is a beautiful land, is it not? The lush greenery, the vibrant colors. It reminds me of some of the exotic ports I have visited in my travels. Tell me, lady, what is it you cherish most about this place, your New Orleans? What do I like about New Orleans? Well, much of what you describe, I confess. The energy, the life, the beauty of this city. It is intoxicating. But also, it is a place of opportunity, a crossroads of trade, a gateway to the world. And for a man who thrives on the currents of the sea, it is an ideal harbor. But I think even more so, it is a perfect place for me to build a new life. My lady, I dare not waste another single precious moment of your time with pleasantries. I am enamored with you. From the moment I first glimpsed you, I was captivated. Your beauty, your spirit, it is unlike anything I have ever encountered. I know this is unconventional, but I am not a man bound by convention. I make my own fate, seize my own desires, and my desire is you. I wish to make you my bride, to share my life, my fortune, my heart with you. I want to give you everything your heart desires. My lady, it makes me beyond elated that you feel the same way. I will speak to your father, of course, seek his blessing, though I suspect he will require further convincing, perhaps a demonstration of my worthiness. But I will do it for you, even if it takes a lifetime. Until next time, my lady.